Dear beloved child, recognize that you are no longer standing in the position of someone who is merely trying to survive the battle. There was a time when you only hoped you would not collapse, only hoped you would still have enough strength to make it through tomorrow. But I am lifting your awareness higher. You are not someone left behind after the battlefield. You are someone who has been affirmed in the midst of the battlefield. There is a very great difference between those two things. The one who merely survives often still carries within them a fearful mindset, as though the battle could return at any moment and take everything away. But the one who has been affirmed begins to walk with a deeper peace. They know that I was with them in the fiery trial. They know that my light kept them through the darkest seasons. And because of that, they no longer live only to avoid being defeated. They begin to live as one who carries light into dark places. Remember Jeremiah when I spoke to him, I have put my words in your mouth to uproot, to tear down, to destroy, and to build. Beloved child, every soul that has truly been touched by me carries the capacity to change the atmosphere around them, not because they themselves are great, but because I am working through them. When you walk in the authority I have given you, the spiritual atmosphere around you will begin to shift. Places that were once filled with chaos will feel peace when you enter. People who have grown accustomed to living in darkness will begin to recognize the light through the way you live. Weary souls will find hope again simply because they see my life moving within you. Beloved child, I do not give you this so that you may exalt yourself. A sword in the hand of the proud can easily wound, but in the hand of the humble, it becomes an instrument of protection and deliverance. Therefore, always keep your heart tender before me. Do not let authority turn into hardness. Do not let light turn into pride. Remember that everything you have comes from me. When you wield the sword in my authority, the first thing I desire to tear down is not people, but the darkness that binds them. Some people hurt you not because they are strong, but because they themselves are also chained. And I want the light within you to carry healing, not only judgment. Blessed are the peacemakers. As Matthew 5-9 says, is what I desire to write upon your life. True authority in my kingdom does not come to oppress. It comes to set free. It does not come to exalt the ego. It comes to bring light into the places that were once covered by darkness. Therefore today, beloved child, rise up in what I have entrusted to you, not with the trembling of one who does not yet know who they are, not with the arrogance of one who is trying to prove themselves, but with the deep peace of one who knows that I am within them. I walk with you in every step. I move through every word you speak under the guidance of the Spirit. I uphold you in the very places where you once thought you did not have the strength to stand. And when you truly begin to walk in this way, you will realize that many things that once held you back have lost their power, not because you have become invincible in the way the world understands it, but because you no longer walk alone. Beloved child, the one who knows they are walking in my power no longer needs to live beneath their old fears. They can walk through darkness without belonging to the darkness. They can stand in the midst of chaos and still keep their peace. They can face trials without losing the light within them. And then you will understand that the greatest thing I have given you is not merely the strength to endure life. The greatest thing I have given you is my very presence within you. It is this that causes your soul to no longer remain bound by the chains of the past. Therefore, walk forward, beloved child, not in haste, not in fear, but with the gentle steadiness of one who knows that the power of heaven is moving within every step they take. Beloved child, bow your heart in holy reverence and receive what I am placing upon you today. This is no longer merely a word of comfort for a weary soul. This is a confirmation from heaven, a seal that cannot be reversed by circumstances, by people, or by any force that has ever stood against you. I am placing upon your head a new crown, not a glittering display for the admiration of the world, but a sign that a new position has been established after the long journey you have walked through with me. Beloved child, this crown carries weight. It is not light like the passing glories of the world. It has been formed through the seasons in which you remained faithful in silence, through the nights when no one saw you battling in prayer, through the moments when you chose to keep standing, even while your soul trembled with exhaustion, and through the times when you still held on to the light, even as everything around you seemed swallowed by darkness. Every stone upon that crown is not a meaningless decoration. They are testimonies of the battles you have overcome, the times you refused to surrender to fear, the times you kept your heart tender in the midst of pain, and the times you continued walking even when you could not clearly see the path ahead. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. As Revelation 2:10 declares, is not merely a promise for some distant day. It is a spiritual principle already at work in your life right now. Your quiet faithfulness has become the very foundation upon which I am lifting you into a new season. Beloved child, you must understand this clearly. I am not merely restoring you to the condition you were in before you were wounded. If I only did that, you would still carry the same level of maturity, the same limitations, and the same fragility as before. But my work does not stop at healing. I am leading you beyond that point. My restoration always moves toward elevation. This new crown carries with it a deeper discernment. Things that once easily confused you will no longer blind you as they once did. You will begin to recognize more clearly what carries life and what is pulling your soul away from the light. Voices that once caused you to waver will gradually lose their power, because the understanding within you has changed. I am also placing upon you a new steadfastness, not the cold, hardened kind of strength the world understands, but the stability of one who has passed through the fire of testing without losing their soul. There were storms that once terrified you, but you will come to realize that you now stand differently in the midst of them. Not because every wave and wind has disappeared, but because deep within, you have been anchored in me more firmly than before. He set a crown of pure gold upon his head. As Psalm 21 contra 3 declares, is a confirmation that what you now carry was not created by your own hands. It did not come from striving to prove yourself. It has been placed upon you by me at the appointed time. Beloved child, in the spiritual realm, this seal cannot be mistaken. The forces that once saw you as an easy target to shake are now beginning to recognize the change. Not because you have become fearsome in the way the world understands it, but because your spiritual position has changed. You no longer stand as one who does not know who they are. You are stepping into the awareness of one who has been sealed by my presence. And from that elevated place, I entrust to you a new function, a gatekeeper. Beloved child, this is not a title for you to become proud of. A gatekeeper does not stand there to display power. They stand to guard what has been entrusted as sacred. They learn to discern what should enter and what must be stopped at the threshold of their soul. In past seasons, you kept the door open too long to things that drained you, distorted voices, connections that stole your peace, thoughts that darkened your soul, and fears quietly nourished within. But now, I am training you to stand at the gate of your life with a new watchfulness. Guard your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. As Proverbs 4:23 declares, is the function I am placing upon you. A gatekeeper understands that not everything seeking entrance should be allowed to remain. Therefore, I am adjusting the entrances and exits around your life. Doors that once stood open to the invasion of chaos will gradually become narrower. Pathways that once allowed darkness to slip in through compromise, through fear, and through exhaustion will no longer remain as they were. At the same time, beloved child, I am also widening the right doors for you, opportunities appointed for the right season, ordained connections, streams that carry life, and places where your soul can grow instead of being drained. You will begin to sense more clearly which places carry my peace, and which ones no longer belong to this new season. Remember Nehemiah when he rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem. The gatekeepers did not only build the wall, they guarded the gates day and night so that what was wrong could not continue to invade. Beloved child, I am also rebuilding the spiritual walls around your life, not to isolate you from the world, but to protect what I am growing within you. There are things you once easily allowed into your mind, but now your soul will begin to respond differently, not because you are becoming closed off or fearful, but because discernment is maturing. The one entrusted to guard the gate can no longer live in an unconscious state. They learn to recognize what comes from the light and what comes only to drain the life within them. Beloved child, do not fear this new responsibility. I do not place you in a position only to leave you there to fight alone. I stand with you at that gate. I teach you step by step how to guard your peace, how to protect the light within you, and how to say no to what no longer belongs in this new season. And then you will realize that the crown I have placed upon you is not merely a sign of past victories. It is a preparation for what lies ahead. I am positioning you as one who no longer lives passively before the darkness, but as one who knows how to guard, discern, and walk in the light with a new maturity. Rise up, beloved child, in the position I have established for you, not with pride, but with the deep awareness that I am completing an eternal work within your soul, and what I have sealed, no power can take from your hands. Beloved child, let your soul become still before me in this moment, like a calm lake receiving the first light of dawn, for I am completing a sacred seal upon your life. What I have spoken throughout this journey has not been words that pass through emotion and fade away with time. This is a decision established in heaven, a decree signed by truth, sealed by grace, and now moving through your life in an order that nothing can overturn. Beloved child, from this moment forward, you no longer stand in the identity of one who is always afraid of losing everything. You no longer carry the mindset of someone merely trying to hold on to the fragments left behind after battle. I am calling you out of that old awareness. You now carry the identity of one who has been redeemed, restored, and confirmed in my light. He redeems your life from destruction and crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies. As Psalm 103 contra 4 declares, is not merely a word of comfort for painful days. It is a proclamation of the new identity I am placing upon you. What I give is not only freedom from the old darkness, I am reaffirming who you truly are in me. There were years when you became accustomed to seeing yourself through the lens of your wounds, through unfinished things, through failures, delays, and the cracks left by your journey. But beloved child, I have never defined you by the things that tried to make you fall. I have always seen within you what the light of heaven placed there from the very beginning. And now, as this process moves into a new completion, you yourself will begin to recognize that you are changing, not the shallow kind of change that exists only on the surface, not the false strength you once had to wear in order to hide the exhaustion within. This is a transformation beginning from the deepest foundation of your soul. The way you stand will be different. There were pressures that once easily shook you, words that once caused your heart to stagger for many days, fears that once made you retreat right before taking a step forward. But you will begin to realize that a new steadfastness is growing within you, not because life no longer contains trials, but because deep inside, you have been anchored in me more deeply than before. He set my feet upon a rock and made my steps secure. As Psalm 42 says, is what I am doing within you day by day. True stability does not come from forcing yourself to appear stronger. It comes from the new foundation I have laid within your soul. Beloved child, even the way you think will begin to change. There was a time when your mind was covered with the fog of anxiety, uncertainty, and self-doubt. You thought endlessly. Yet the more you thought, the more confused you became. There were distorted voices repeating themselves within your mind so often that they began to sound like truth. But my light is gradually sweeping away that fog. You will begin to see things more clearly. Not because you suddenly understand everything, but because your mind is no longer covered as it once was. The things that once left you confused will slowly reveal their true nature. The things that once filled you with fear will no longer carry the same power. Beloved child, spiritual clarity does not come from knowing every detail of the future. It comes from your soul beginning to align more deeply with my voice than with the voice of chaos. Even the way you walk will be different. There were seasons when you walked like someone constantly being pulled backward by the past. One part of your soul wanted to move forward, while another part remained tied to old memories, old failures, and the fear of being hurt once again. But now, I am removing those invisible chains from your feet. You will walk with greater confidence, not because you no longer feel fear, but because the light within you is beginning to grow stronger than that fear. There are doors you once did not dare to enter, yet you will soon find yourself stepping toward them with a new peace, not with the recklessness of the flesh, but with the steadiness of one who knows they are being guided. Beloved child, do not think this transformation comes from your own effort alone. You are not recreating yourself through human strength. What is happening is the result of my quiet work within you throughout the seasons when you thought I was silent. There were times when you believed you were being delayed, but in truth, I was strengthening your foundation. There were days when it seemed as though nothing was changing, yet deep beneath the surface, I was rearranging the spiritual structures within your soul. Just as a builder does not begin with the roof, but with the foundation, I also do not build your life by starting with outward things. I go to the deepest places first, the places where faith, awareness, identity, and understanding of yourself are formed. And now, beloved child, the results are beginning to appear. You will notice that you no longer react to everything the way you once did. Things that once stole your peace will no longer so easily disturb your soul. Pressures that once caused you to lose heart are beginning to lose their power, not because you have become emotionless, but because I am making you more mature in the light. The righteous will never be shaken. A Psalm 112 contra 6 declares, is the word I am writing upon your life. This does not mean you will never face storms again, but it does mean that the storms will no longer define your identity. Beloved child, receive this final seal with deep gratitude. I have never abandoned the work I began within you. Every tear, every season of waiting, and every silent battle has become part of the process that has brought you to where you stand now. You are no longer the person you once were. And though the journey ahead still continues, from this moment forward, you will walk with a new awareness, not as someone trying to find themselves again, but as someone who is gradually becoming whole within my eternal light. Beloved child, I want you to learn how to treasure every moment your soul touches my presence, whether that moment comes in radiant light or in the days when you barely have enough strength left to whisper a weak prayer. Do not think that only the moments when you feel strong, full of faith, and overflowing with joy are valuable before me. There are times when I come closest to you precisely when you are so weary that you have no words left to speak. In the nights when you simply sit in silence, trying to keep your heart from completely collapsing. Beloved child, hold those moments within your soul the way one guards precious jewels from the dust of the road. One day, When you look back upon the entire journey you have walked through, you will understand that not a single tear ever fell without me seeing it. Not a single prayer ever disappeared into empty space without meaning. Not a single season of waiting was wasted simply because you could not yet understand its purpose at the time. There were days when you thought you were merely trying to survive one breath at a time. Yet even in those very days, I was quietly working within you. I was there in every silence you mistook for loneliness. I was there in the moments when you sat still because you no longer knew how to keep moving forward. I was there in the times when your soul was too exhausted to sing a song of victory, yet still gentle enough to turn itself toward me. I will never leave you, nor forsake you. As Hebrews 13:5 declares, is not a promise reserved only for the days when you feel strong. It is a covenant I keep even along the roads where you believe you are walking most alone. Beloved child, there are places you thought were filled only with darkness. Yet when you look back, you will realize that my footprints were always beside your own. And I want you to remember Gideon. Beloved child, when I came to him, he was not standing upon a battlefield with the appearance of a hero. He was hiding, threshing wheat in secret because he feared the enemy would see him. Everything around him carried the atmosphere of weakness and caution. To human eyes, no one would have imagined that he was the one chosen to deliver the people. Yet my messenger entered that hidden place and called him mighty warrior. Do you see? Beloved child, I do not call you according to the present condition of your fear. I call you according to what I placed within you from the very beginning. While Gideon still saw only his smallness, I already saw the strength that would be awakened. While he saw only a hiding place, I saw a future battlefield. While he believed he had been forgotten, I saw one appointed to rise at the right time. Beloved child, there are also times when you look at yourself in the same way. You look at your exhaustion and think you are not capable enough. You look at seasons of silence and believe, I have gone far away. You look at your present limitations and wonder how I could ever use a soul that still trembles like yours. But I have never looked at you through the eyes of limitation. Some of my divine visitations do not come beneath bright lights or in glorious moments. They come in the hidden room, in the place where you are hiding from the world, in the moments when you believe no one sees you anymore. And it is precisely there that I begin to unfold something new. Beloved child, do not despise the seasons when you feel you are in a hidden place. The world often believes that only what is public has value. But in my kingdom, many of the greatest things begin in silence. A seed always sprouts beneath the soil before anyone sees the first green shoot. And your soul is no different. There are things I am forming within you that even you cannot yet fully name. Those days that seem ordinary are becoming the foundation for what lies ahead. Every time you return to me in weakness is creating a spiritual depth that human strength could never produce. Remember David in the wilderness, tending sheep before he stood before Goliath. Remember Joseph in the prison before he entered the palace. Remember Moses in the desert before he led the people through the Red Sea. Beloved child, I often prepare those whom I will use in places the world considers small and unnoticed. Therefore, do not be too quick to dismiss these quiet days of your life. Perhaps you cannot yet clearly see all that I am doing. Perhaps there are still questions within you that remain unanswered. But learn to treasure every moment when I draw near to you both in peace and in tears. For one day, when you look back, you will realize that it was those very small moments that kept your soul from sinking. Beloved child, the hidden room is not the end of your story. It may be the very place where I am calling your true name for the first time. The place where I am separating you from the noise of the world so that you may hear my voice more clearly. The place where I am healing the deepest parts of you before leading you into something greater. And the time will come when you understand that the seasons you thought were hiding you were actually the seasons in which I was protecting and preparing you. So today, do not fear your present smallness. Do not be ashamed of the moments when you still tremble. Do not think that I come only to souls that are already perfect. I step into the very places of weakness in order to reveal my power. And just as I called Gideon in his place of hiding, today I am also calling you not according to what fear causes you to see about yourself, but according to the light I placed within you before you even knew yourself. Beloved child, as the dawn of a new day opens before your eyes, I do not want you to live merely trying to predict what will happen to you next. I want you to learn something deeper. Ask yourself whether your soul is recognizing my footsteps in the midst of what is unfolding around you. For many times, I do not come in the ways you expect. I do not always enter through great upheavals or miracles that astonish everyone. Sometimes I come as gently as the morning breeze, so subtle that only a listening heart can recognize me. I may touch you through a simple reminder during the day that others would easily overlook, through an unexpected peace flowing into your heart while your mind is still overwhelmed, or through an encounter you never planned that suddenly opens something within you that I desire to speak. At times, I come through an old memory not to pull you back into pain, but to show you that even in the years when you thought you were most alone, I was still holding you with my unseen hand. Beloved child, learn to keep these traces within your heart, not with superstition or by searching for signs in everything, but with the attentiveness of a soul that sees life with eyes deeper than the surface. One day, those small moments will become quiet witnesses for you in difficult seasons ahead. They will remind you that I have never forgotten you, not even for a single moment. Perhaps today, you still do not fully understand the road ahead. Perhaps the new chapter I am opening before you is still dim, like the dawn before the full light has appeared. But do not fear that. Beloved child, I do not require you to see the entire journey before you take a step. I simply invite you to take hold of my hand and walk one step at a time in trust. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. As Proverbs 3:5 declares, is the word I desire to plant deeply within your soul. There are doors that will only open once you draw near to them. There are lights that will only become visible when you dare to keep walking, even without seeing the whole path before you. And hear me clearly in this. Beloved child, I do not wait for you to become perfect before drawing near to you. If perfection were the condition for my love, no soul would ever be worthy to enter my presence. I am not searching for people who have never trembled. I seek hearts that still choose to return to me, even in the midst of weakness. There are souls who believe they must completely fix themselves before coming to me. But I am like the father who sees his child from far away and runs to embrace them while they are still covered in the dust of the road. Beloved child, my grace does not begin after you have changed everything about yourself. It is that very grace that transforms you. And what I am writing upon your life will not only change you, it will become a living song of heaven's mercy and faithfulness. There will one day be people who find hope simply because they see how my light carried you through the darkness. There will be weary souls who realize they too can rise again because they see that you continued walking after all you have endured. Beloved child, I want you to understand that my greatest works often begin very quietly. The world longs for thunder, for dramatic signs, for moments that instantly change everything. But many times, I begin with something very small within you. Perhaps it is only your heart softening after a long season of resistance. Perhaps it is a pure thought passing through your mind in the midst of old chaos. Perhaps it is a moment of silence in which you stop fighting against yourself. Perhaps it is only a faint whisper, yet enough to turn your soul back toward the light. Do not despise these small beginnings. Look at the seed beneath the soil. When it is planted, no one immediately sees the life moving within it. Outwardly, there is only dark earth and silence. Yet deep within that hidden darkness The shell is breaking open. Life is awakening. Roots are quietly growing downward before the plant can rise upward toward the sky. Beloved child, there are seasons when you think you are merely living ordinary days, simply praying in silence, simply trying to keep your heart from drifting away from me, simply learning how to keep walking even when you cannot yet see the results. Yet it is precisely in those seasons that I may be building the deepest foundations within you. The one who hears my words and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. As Matthew 7:24 says, strong foundations are not built in the middle of the crowd's applause. They are laid quietly, layer by layer, deep beneath the surface where few can see. So today, do not rush to measure your journey only by what your eyes can presently see. Some of the greatest transformations are taking place in the deepest hidden places. There are things I am preparing within you whose value will only be revealed with time. Beloved child, be patient with yourself. Do not force yourself to bloom before your season has come. Do not despise the quiet days simply because they do not appear glorious. Those very days may be the place where I am teaching your soul to root itself more deeply in me. And the time will come when what I have quietly planted within you begins to rise into the light. Not the blinding light of pride, but the gentle light of a soul that has learned how to live close to me. When that day comes, you will understand that no season was meaningless. No silence was empty. No tear ever fell outside my sight. For throughout the entire journey, beloved child, I have been there all along quietly, gently, yet never ceasing to lead you. Beloved child, perhaps through many seasons you believed that a true turning point could only begin once you were perfectly prepared, once your mind no longer carried doubt, once your soul became strong enough to stop trembling before the unknown. But I want you to understand a gentle yet profound truth. Many of destiny's greatest doors do not open when you have understood everything, but when you trust enough to open your heart for me to enter. I have never required you to become perfect before walking with me. If perfection were the condition for this journey, no soul would ever be capable of beginning. I do not call you into tomorrow through the certainty of your own strength. I invite you to walk through the trust of a child who knows their Father's hand is holding them. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. As Philippians 1:6 declares, is not merely a beautiful promise for you to remember in moments of weakness. It is the foundation upon which you can stand when you cannot yet see the whole picture. The work I am doing in your life does not rest upon the fragile strength of human emotion. It is sustained by my unchanging faithfulness. Beloved child, you may not yet clearly see the final form of what I am building within you. There are days when you look into your own heart and see only unfinished fragments. There are seasons when you feel you are moving so slowly that it seems as though nothing significant is happening at all. But I see differently than you do. I see every stone being placed exactly where it belongs. I see every time you choose light instead of darkness, every time you return after stumbling, and every time you listen to my voice instead of allowing fear to guide you. None of those things are small in my eyes. There are victories the world never notices. Yet heaven remembers clearly a soul choosing forgiveness when it has every reason to become bitter, a heart remaining tender after being wounded, a person continuing to trust even without seeing the answer. Beloved child, it is precisely these hidden things that are becoming living evidence that my grace is real. Remember Peter stepping out of the boat onto the water. He did not walk because he understood everything about the miracle. He walked because he recognized my voice in the middle of the storm. And even though his feet trembled, even though he began to sink when he looked at the raging waves, I still reached out my hand and held him. Beloved child, I am holding you in the same way. I do not love you less in the days when your faith still wavers. What I seek is not a soul that never feels fear, but a soul that still turns toward me in the midst of that fear. Therefore today, let me walk with you, not only in the moments you call spiritual, but also in the very ordinary parts of life. Then you work. Do not work under the pressure of trying to prove your worth to the world. Work instead from the peace of one who knows they are already loved before success or failure ever comes. There are souls who have lived in constant striving for far too long. They believe that if they pause, even for a moment, everything will collapse. But, beloved child, I did not create you to live forever as one being chased by the fear of never being good enough. I want you to learn how to work from peace rather than working in order to find peace. The one who abides in me, and I in him, bears much fruit. As John 15:5 declares, true fruit is not produced through endless tension. It grows when the branch remains connected to the source of life. And when you rest, beloved child, rest as one who knows they are loved, not as someone merely trying to escape the burdens of life. There is a great difference between resting in peace and giving up in exhaustion. I am not calling you to run away from your journey. I simply want your soul to know that it does not need to strain every moment in order to be accepted. Remember Elijah beneath the tree in the wilderness. When he was exhausted and wanted to give up on everything, I did not begin with words of rebuke. I gave him rest. I gave him food. I restored his body and soul before continuing to lead him forward. Beloved child, I am just as gentle with you. I know the limits of your flesh. I do not despise your weariness. And when you stand before difficult choices, do not rush to follow the noise of fear or the pressure of the world. Learn how to become still long enough to hear my voice. There are decisions that cannot be guided merely by logic or temporary emotion. They require a deeper peace, the peace that comes when your soul recognizes the direction of the one who shepherds it. The Lord is my shepherd. As Psalm 23 says, is not merely beautiful poetry for peaceful days. It is the gentle truth that you are not meant to lead yourself through every valley. The shepherd knows the way even when the sheep cannot clearly see what lies ahead. Beloved child, I am writing the story of your life with lines that today you may not yet fully understand. There are chapters you still wonder why you must walk through. There are silences whose purpose you do not yet see. But the day will come when you look back and realize that not a single moment was wasted when it was placed in my hands. The joyful days are not meaningless. The painful seasons are not meaningless either. The waiting, the stumbling and rising again, even the moments that seem most ordinary, all of them are being woven together by me into a story far greater than what you can presently see. And what I am doing will not only change the way you live, it will change the way you see yourself. You will no longer look at yourself through the lens of old failures. It will change the way you see others with greater mercy and deeper understanding. It will change the way you see even the most ordinary days, because you will begin to recognize my presence in the smallest things. Beloved child, open your heart once more. I am nearer than you think. I am working more deeply than your eyes can see. And I am leading you into a life no longer built upon passing emotions, but upon my eternal love that cannot be shaken. Beloved child, when you open your lips to speak my word, do not think of it as mere sounds rising into the air and fading away. In the spiritual realm, words spoken in faith carry the weight of life itself. They are not merely language. They are a declaration that stands on the side of light in a world filled with voices of chaos. Every time you proclaim my word, you are affirming that your soul does not belong to darkness, that your identity is not defined by fear, and that the final voice over your life does not belong to condemnation. There are days when your mind feels like a battlefield filled with conflicting whispers. One voice tells you that you will never make it through. Another repeats the failures of your past. Yet another tries to convince you that you have been forgotten. Beloved child, if you remain silent and simply listen to all those voices, your soul will slowly grow weary and sink beneath their weight. But I did not create you to become a dwelling place for lies. I placed within you the ability to rise and declare truth, even while your emotions are still trembling. Remember when Jesus entered the wilderness. He did not face temptation in a place filled with supporters, nor did he stand among cheering crowds or glorious lights. He was in a barren place, where the flesh was weary, where loneliness seeks to make the human mind most vulnerable. Yet it was there, when darkness tried to distort truth, that he answered with the word, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." As Matthew 4:4 declares, "Beloved child, my only begotten Son did not fight through fleshly arguments. He did not try to prove himself through anger or panic. He stood firm upon truth. This was not by accident. I want to teach you that there are battles that cannot be won by human strength, but they begin to change when your soul agrees with the voice of heaven rather than the screaming of fear. Therefore, when your heart trembles, learn to place my word upon your lips. When fear draws near like a cold wind in the middle of a long night, do not simply sit silently and allow it to keep speaking into your mind. Open your mouth and declare what I have spoken, not because you are trying to force yourself to feel strong, but because you are reminding your soul of what is true. There will be times when your emotions tell you that you are alone, but my word says that I will never leave you nor forsake you. There will be moments when circumstances shout that every door has closed. Yet my word says that I can make a way where no path can be seen. Beloved child, speak my word when doubt begins building walls within your mind. Do not wait until you feel full of faith before lifting your voice. Faith often does not begin with feelings of strength. It begins with the decision to stand on the side of truth, even while fear still trembles inside you. Remember David standing before Goliath. He did not walk onto the battlefield carrying only a stone in his hand. He stepped forward with the declaration in his soul that the battle belonged to the Lord. Others saw an undefeatable giant, but David looked through the eyes of covenant. Beloved child, what you choose to see will shape what you speak, and what you speak will gradually shape the atmosphere around your soul. There are souls who have become so accustomed to using their lips to repeat their fears that they unknowingly nourish darkness within their own minds. They speak constantly of failure until failure becomes their identity. They speak constantly of weakness until their souls no longer remember what it feels like to stand firm. But I am teaching you a different way. The tongue has the power of life and death. As Proverbs 18:21 declares, is a spiritual principle I want you to understand deeply. Whatever you continually agree with through your words will slowly take root within your heart. Therefore, do not use your lips to rebuild the chains that I am removing from your soul. This does not mean you must pretend that you are not hurting or not afraid. I am not calling you to live in denial of your emotions. I am calling you so that your emotions do not become the final voice over your life. There is a great difference between being honest about your weakness and surrendering to it as though it were an unchangeable destiny. Beloved child, when you speak my word in your weakest days, it is like a lamp being lit in a dark room. The darkness may not disappear immediately, but it no longer holds complete authority. The light has begun to enter. And there will come days when you look back and realize that it was those very moments when you were trembling yet still chose to declare truth that kept your soul from sinking. There were battles that began to turn simply because you refused to keep agreeing with lies. There were dark seasons that could not swallow you because my word still remained upon your lips, even in weakness. Beloved child, never underestimate the power of a soul that continues speaking truth in a barren place. That is not hypocrisy. That is an act of faith. So today, let your lips become a place where my word remains alive. When fear comes, speak what I have declared. When weariness pulls you downward, remind your soul of my faithfulness. When darkness tries to cover your mind, let truth rise louder than the noise around you, not to prove that you are stronger than everyone else, but to remind your own soul that my truth is always greater than the screaming of temporary emotions. And beloved child, every time you do this, the light within you will grow a little stronger, until your very life becomes a living declaration that my truth still has the power to set free those who place their trust in me. Beloved child, I want you to come to my word not like someone rushing through a desert searching for a temporary sip of water, but like a child returning to their father's table after a long and weary journey. Do not open my word merely to find a quick answer for the anxiety before you, only to close it again once your heart feels slightly soothed. Remain there long enough within my presence for each word to soak into your thoughts the way rain sinks into dry ground, moving deeper than surface emotions, reaching old memories, unhealed wounds, and the hidden places you have never dared to bring into the light. There are people who read my word with their eyes yet never allow it to touch their hearts. They know many verses of Scripture, yet their souls remain dry because truth stopped in the mind and never became living breath within them. But, beloved child, I do not want my word to become mere knowledge stored inside your thoughts. I want it to become a quiet river flowing through your life, correcting distorted thinking, softening the places hardened by disappointment, and building within you the ability to discern what is true light and what is the voice of darkness disguised. So shall my word be. It shall not return to me void, as Isaiah 55:11 declares, is not merely a promise reserved for great sermons or emotional moments. It is a truth at work, even in the most ordinary mornings, when you quietly open the Scriptures and read only a few lines with an honest heart. Not once is your search for me, in faith, meaningless. Not a single word you keep within your heart is small. Not a single declaration grounded in truth is weak. Beloved child, there are seeds from heaven being planted within your heart through a single verse of Scripture that today you may not yet fully understand. Yet years from now, it will save you from a great season of darkness. There are words I place within your soul whose value you may not yet recognize. But at the appointed time they will shine forth like a lamp in the middle of a long night. Remember Jeremiah, who said, "Your words were found, and I ate them." As Jeremiah 15:16 declares, he did not merely read my word, he received it as nourishment for his soul. Beloved child, I want you to learn how to eat my word in the same way, not reading it quickly just to fulfill a duty, but allowing truth to become the living sustenance within you. And when that happens, your life will begin to change from the inside out. Ordinary days will no longer feel like a chain of repetitive tasks that exhaust your soul. You will begin to recognize my grace quietly flowing through even the smallest moments, a peaceful morning, a moment of stillness in the middle of a busy day, a brief pause when you turn your heart toward me. Those seemingly small things will become the places where the presence of heaven touches your life most gently. Beloved child, in time, you will no longer seek me as though I were far away. Your soul will gradually realize that I am closer than your very breath, closer than the words you have not yet spoken aloud. The Lord is near to all who call upon him in truth. As Psalm 145:18 says, is the truth I want to engrave deeply within your heart. I do not wait for you to create a perfect moment before I come near. I enter right into your honesty, into the familiar room, into the chair where you sit quietly after a long day, into the moment when you lift your eyes in the midst of life's burdens and softly whisper, "Father, stay with me." Beloved child, There are souls who believe that my presence appears only in extraordinary places or in moments overflowing with powerful emotion. But many times, I come closest in simplicity when you stop trying to create something spiritual and simply open your heart honestly before me. And when my word begins to live within you, you will notice changes that are both deep and gentle. Your eyes will become less harsh. You will no longer look at others only through their failures or differences. Mercy will begin to grow within you like a gentle stream softening dry ground. Even your words will begin to change. They will no longer be so quick to react, so eager to prove yourself right, or so sharp that they wound others. Beloved child, when your heart has remained long within my word, your lips will begin to carry the fragrance of peace, and then even your presence among others will begin to change. Not because you are trying to become impressive or more spiritual than anyone else, but because my light is gradually soaking into your life. There will be weary souls who feel comforted simply by being near you. There will be people who are spiritually dry yet find a small place of rest in the gentleness I have placed within you. Not because you are perfect, but because my word is alive within you. Remember Moses, when he came down from the mountain after remaining long in my presence, he himself did not realize that his face was reflecting light. Yet others could see it clearly. Beloved child, those who truly stay close to me do not strive to prove their light. The light reveals itself naturally through the way they live, the way they love, and the way they walk through life. Therefore today, do not read my word like someone merely searching for information. Come as one searching for life. Do not open the scriptures only with a mind that wants greater understanding, but with a heart that longs to be transformed. And as you continue abiding in my word day after day, you will slowly become what you are receiving. You will not merely carry a holy book beside you, but a living fire within your soul. You will not only preserve sacred words in your memory, but carry rivers of living water flowing through your very life. Beloved child, this is how I draw you closer to me, not through force, but through gentle truth, slowly soaking into every hidden corner of your soul until your very life begins to reflect the light of heaven. Beloved child, the day will come when you look back upon your journey and realize that the greatest change I brought was not merely leading you into a new place, but making your heart into a place where I could dwell more fully. For there are many who step into new circumstances while their souls remain unchanged. They change locations, but not the way they live. They change environments, yet are still guided by the same fears, the same old reactions, and the same unhealed wounds. But what I am doing within you goes far deeper than that. I am teaching you to let me enter every hidden part of your soul. Beloved child, a decision made with my presence will be entirely different from a decision born out of fear. When fear leads the way, you will choose only to protect yourself, to avoid pain, or to hold on to temporary feelings of safety. But when I am within that decision, you will begin to choose through the light of peace and truth, rather than through the screaming of anxiety. Even your words will be different when I am within them, compared to words that rise from unhealed wounds. There are people who speak from the anger of their past, from the bitterness they once endured, or from the constant need to defend themselves against everything around them. But when I touch your lips, your words will gradually begin to carry life instead of merely reacting through temporary emotion. Not because you no longer feel pain, but because my love is becoming greater than your old wounds. Beloved child, even waiting will become different when I am with you. There is a kind of waiting filled with anxiety, one that exhausts the soul because it constantly believes it is about to be left behind. But there is also a waiting covered by my presence, where you still do not yet see the answer. Yet your heart is no longer as chaotic as before, for you know that the one who holds time is also holding your very life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. As Proverbs 3:5-6 declares, is not a call for you to abandon the understanding I have given you. I do not want you to live blindly or irresponsibly, but I am inviting you to place your understanding beneath the light of heaven, so that what you choose is not only reasonable in the eyes of men, but also beautiful within my eternal plan. Beloved child, there are paths that look very right by the standards of the world, yet gradually draw your soul away from the light. There are also steps that require more trust than you would prefer, yet they lead you into true peace. Therefore, I do not only want you to ask, will this succeed? I want you to learn to ask something deeper. Will this keep me closer to me? Remember Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus while Martha was busy with many tasks. The world might have thought Martha was doing something more useful, but Mary chose the better portion because she knew that being near me was more precious than trying to prove her worth through busyness. Beloved child, I am teaching you this as well. Do not let your life become a chain of rushed reactions until your soul can no longer hear my voice. Therefore today, continue opening your heart in the quietest places. Do not wait until a great crisis occurs before seeking my presence. Do not run to me only when life falls apart or when the pain becomes too heavy for you to carry alone. Learn to recognize me in the ordinary breath of each day. I may come through an unexpected peace in the middle of a busy afternoon, through a very gentle prompting of a conscience sanctified by me, through a verse of scripture that suddenly shines at the exact moment your soul needs it most, or through a brief pause in the midst of life's demands when you realize your heart is being drawn back into stillness. Beloved child, that is not a small thing. That is how a true relationship with me grows. There are many who worship me with their lips while their souls live far from me. They speak about me, yet they do not walk with me in everyday life. But I am leading you into something deeper, a life in which your heart begins to walk with me through every small decision. And then the turning points of life will no longer confuse you as they once did. Not because you know the entire future, but because you have learned that every turn can become a place where you see my goodness in a new way. There are roads I open to teach you courage. There are doors I close to protect your soul from what is not yet right for its appointed time. There are seasons when I hold you back simply to heal the inner places before leading you farther. Beloved child, let me enter not only the parts of yourself that you already understand clearly. Give me even the places you still fear, the hidden areas you continue trying to conceal, and the decisions you are still afraid to release from your own control. I do not want to exist only within the spiritual corners you have set aside for me. I want to enter into everything the way you love, the way you work, the way you rest, the way you face pain, the way you make decisions, the way you see yourself, and the way you see others. For when I am present in every part of your life, your days will no longer feel like scattered moments filled with anxiety. They will become a sacred journey in which every step is upheld by my unchanging love. And then you will realize that the most beautiful thing is not how far you have traveled, but that throughout the entire journey, you have never walked alone. Beloved child, the day will come when you understand that the greatest work I do in your life is not merely changing the circumstances around you, but transforming the way your soul walks with me through every circumstance. There are people who believe the greatest miracle is being brought into a new place, a new season, or a new open door. But beloved child, many times the deeper miracle is that your heart has finally opened for me to enter the places you once kept only for yourself. I am teaching you that a decision made with my presence carries an entirely different atmosphere than a decision born out of fear. When fear leads the way, your soul will always rush, always seek control, always try to protect itself from pain. But when I am present within that choice, even in uncertainty. You will still feel a peace deeper than your anxiety. A word spoken with me is also different from words rising out of unhealed wounds. There are people who speak from old pain, and so their words carry sharpness even when their lips try to appear calm. But when I touch your lips, your words will gradually begin to carry light rather than merely reacting through temporary emotions. Not because you are no longer weak, but because your heart has learned how to pause before allowing darkness to speak in your place. Even waiting becomes different when I am with you. There is a kind of delay that fills the soul with anxiety, always fearing that it has been forgotten. But there is also a waiting covered by my presence, where you still do not see the answer. Yet your heart is kept from chaos. Beloved child, this is what happens when you allow me to participate in every part of your life. You are no longer guided merely by temporary reactions, but by my living presence within you. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. As Proverbs 3:5-6 declares, is not a call for you to abandon thought or live blindly. I do not want you to become someone without discernment, but I am inviting you to place your understanding beneath the light of heaven, so that what you choose is not only reasonable in human eyes, but also beautiful within my eternal plan. Beloved child, do not wait for great upheavals before seeking my voice. Many souls run to me only when their lives are shaken deeply, but I want to teach you a deeper communion, one where you learn to hear me, even in the midst of the most ordinary days. Learn to recognize me in the quiet breath of the morning, in the unexpected peace that comes in the middle of busyness, in the gentle prompting of a sanctified conscience, in a verse of scripture that suddenly comes alive at the exact moment your soul needs it most. I am leading you into a life that does not merely worship me with the lips, but walks with me through the whole heart. And then you will begin to realize that the crossroads of life no longer confuse you as they once did, not because you know the future beforehand, but because you are beginning to trust the one who is leading you. Every choice will become an opportunity for you to see my goodness in a new way. There will be times when I lead you forward, even while you are still trembling. There will be times when I hold you back even though everything outwardly appears favorable. There will be seasons when I ask you to wait a little longer, even while your heart longs to move immediately. But beloved child, all of my guidance flows from a love that sees farther than your eyes can see. I do not enter your life as one who wishes to take away your freedom. I do not come to control you through fear. I come as a father who knows the roads ahead more clearly than his own child. You can only see the stretch of road directly before you, but I see the season beyond it. I see the hidden consequences. I see the thorns lying beneath the green grass before your eyes can recognize them. Therefore, when I say, acknowledge me in all your ways, it is not a heavy command meant to make you lose yourself. It is a gentle invitation for you to place your small hand into mine before every new doorway you encounter. Remember Abraham when I called him to leave his homeland. I did not show him the entire map of the journey. I simply told him to go to the place I would show him. And through each step of obedience, Abraham learned that true security was not found in familiar land, but in the presence of the one who was leading him. Beloved child, there are also doorways opening before you in the same way. Not all of them will appear great or dramatic at first. Sometimes they come through a very ordinary invitation, a seemingly small opportunity, a new encounter, a thought that has just begun to form within your heart, or a decision you believe you can resolve quickly on your own. But it is precisely in those moments that I want you to learn how to pause in peace. Not to pause because of panic, not to pause because of a lack of faith, but pause in order to recognize me. Beloved child, a spiritually wise person is not the one who always acts the fastest. It is the one who knows how to discern between the pressure of the flesh and the rhythm of heaven's leading. There are steps that take only seconds to decide. yet they can change an entire season ahead. Therefore, I want your heart to learn to ask, Father, are you in this? And when you do this, your life will gradually become a journey woven by my presence, rather than merely a chain of reactions to circumstances. Your soul will begin to slow down, even while the world continues rushing around you. You will begin to hear the voice of peace more clearly in the midst of noise. You will realize that not every open door must be entered, and not every delay is a loss. Beloved child, let me enter not only one part of your life, not only the places you already understand clearly, but also the places you are still afraid to surrender, the decisions you still want to control yourself, and the worries you continue hiding behind an appearance of strength. For when I am present within every choice you make, life will no longer feel like scattered days filled with anxiety. It will become a sacred journey in which every step is upheld by my love, my wisdom, and my faithfulness that never changes. And then you will understand that the most beautiful thing is not always knowing where you are going, but knowing who is walking with you. Beloved child, there are days when you look at your life as though it were a collection of scattered pieces, unable to understand why they were ever placed beside one another. A brief encounter that quickly passed away, a plan unexpectedly redirected, a door that seemed so near yet never opened, a journey delayed, a person you met only for a moment, yet whose words remained in your heart for many years afterward. Beloved child, through human eyes, all these things may appear like separate notes with no connection to one another, but in my hands, they are being woven into a tapestry whose full design you cannot yet see. You hear only the individual sounds of your journey, but I hear the entire song. There are things you now call interruptions that one day you will recognize as my hand redirecting you away from places that did not belong to you. There are doors that closed and broke your heart, yet later you will understand that if they had opened at that moment, your soul would have carried burdens it was not yet strong enough to bear. There are people I allow to enter your life for only a short season, yet they carry within them a key that opens the next step of your journey. Beloved child, do not let the fear of missing out push you to run ahead of me. The world constantly tells you that you must move faster, seize everything immediately, and control every opportunity before it disappears. But I want you to understand a gentle truth. What truly belongs to you within my will cannot be lost simply because you chose to obey me. What I have prepared for you does not need to be grasped through panic. It will come in the season I have appointed, in the way I know is best for your soul. Remember Abraham and Sarah. When they tried to help my promise come to pass through their own impatience, pain and confusion followed that decision. But what comes from my timing always carries a peace that the flesh cannot create for itself. Beloved child, not every door that opens quickly is a blessing, and not every delay is a loss. Then you will realize that making decisions with me does not only lead you to better outcomes, it is transforming you along the way. You will become less hurried, not because you have lost your passion for life, but because your soul is beginning to understand that everything precious has its season. A seed does not bloom overnight. A river does not become deep after only one rain. And mature faith is not formed through rushed reactions. You will also learn to listen more deeply. There were years when you lived as someone constantly pulled along by outside voices, by the expectations of others, by the pressure to prove yourself, by the fear of falling behind. But as you taste the peace that comes from following my voice, your heart will no longer be shaken as easily as before. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. And free, as Psalm 37:7 declares, is not a call for you to live passively or abandon responsibility. It is an invitation to stand firm in trust, refusing to let panic seize the steering wheel of your soul. Beloved child, Waiting for me does not make you smaller. Waiting for me makes you deeper. Obeying me does not take away your freedom. It sets you free from the cycles that impatience creates. So when a door opens before you, enter with gratitude. Yet keep your ear close to my voice. Do not let excitement cause you to forget to listen. Some doors are blessings, but others only appear bright on the outside while carrying things within them that would drain your soul. And when a door closes, allow yourself to grieve if you need to. I do not ask you to pretend that you are not sad. There are real losses that make your heart ache. There are things you once hoped for deeply. But beloved child, do not despair. The hand that closed that door is the same hand that has kept you through so many dark seasons before. If I withhold something, it is not because I want you to lack, but because I see what your eyes cannot yet see. There are roads today that you cannot yet understand why you must walk. But the time will come when you look back and recognize that every delay, every redirection, and every season of waiting carried the traces of my love. And while I am guiding the circumstances around you, a deeper work is also quietly taking place within you. Beloved child, as you learn to let me enter into every choice, what changes is not only that you become wiser or avoid more unnecessary detours. Your entire being is being rearranged beneath my light. I did not create you as a soul separated from your mind, your emotions, and your body. I created you as a whole being. Therefore, when my peace enters the deepest places within you, it does not stop at a passing feeling of comfort. It begins to calm the storms within your mind. It softens the places that have become tight with anxiety. It teaches your body that it no longer needs to live forever in a posture of defense. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. As Philippians 4:7 declares, is not merely a beautiful verse for you to read when you are weary. It is a promise that my peace can guard your soul like a gentle fortress around the places that were once filled with the deepest unrest. I know the nights when you lie down, yet your mind continues racing without rest. I know the mornings when you awaken with a heavy body even though no one realizes how exhausted your soul has become. I know the smiles you struggle to maintain so that others will not notice how deeply stretched you are inside by hundreds of unresolved burdens. Beloved child, you may hide that weariness from the world, but you do not need to hide it from me. I do not come near you to rebuke you for being weak. I come to bring you back to the true source of rest. When Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," as Matthew 11:28 declares, it was not an invitation for those who had already arranged everything perfectly. It was a call for souls exhausted from trying to carry burdens too heavy for them alone. Beloved child, I do not only want you to learn how to endure better, I want you to learn how to lay your burdens down. There are things you are trying to hold together by your own strength that I never asked you to carry alone. There are worries you have embraced for so long that you now believe they are your permanent responsibility. But today I gently extend my hand toward you once again and say, give them to me, not because you are weak or inadequate, but because you are my child, and I never created you to walk through this journey alone. Beloved child, there are kinds of weariness no human eye can see, yet I see them clearly. There are wounds that do not appear upon the skin, yet still cause your shoulders to grow heavier each day. There are souls who continue smiling, continue working, continue telling others they are fine, while inwardly they have been exhausted for a very long time. I see all of those things within you. I see the worries you carry without speaking them aloud, the thoughts that keep circling through your mind in the middle of the night, the moments when you blame yourself for not being good enough, strong enough, or fast enough compared to others. I see the old echoes still lingering within the hidden room of your heart, the memories, the words that once wounded you, the fears you have never truly brought into the light. Beloved child, I want to enter precisely into those places, not merely to soothe you with temporary words of comfort and then leave you to continue living in the same old chaos. I come to change the atmosphere within your soul. I come to bring the order of heaven into the places that have long been ruled by tension, pressure, and silent fear. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. As Philippians 4:6 declares, "Is not my command for you to deny your worries or pretend you are not hurting. I am not asking you to appear strong at all times. I am simply inviting you to bring those things out of the darkness and place them into my hands before they take root too deeply within your heart." For beloved child, many burdens become dangerous, not because they were overwhelming from the beginning, but because you have silently carried them alone for far too long. When you truly pray, what happens is not merely that you tell me about your problems. You are opening the door for my presence to enter that chaos. And when my light begins to fill those places, the things that once spun endlessly within your mind will gradually settle like water after a violent wind. Your thoughts will no longer run endlessly in circles of anxiety. Your emotions will no longer be dragged around by every sound of circumstance. Even your body will begin to relearn the rhythm of peace that I originally created it to live in. Beloved child, do not let the world teach you that your worth is measured by the degree of your exhaustion. I never created you to live like someone constantly driven by pressure, as though everything would collapse if you paused for even a moment. I see the days when your body continues walking while your soul has already been weary for a very long time. I hear even the sighs your lips have never spoken aloud. There are mornings when you open your eyes and your heart already feels heavy before the sun has even risen. There are nights when you lie down in bed while your mind still spins with anxieties you have not even learned how to name. But beloved child, I never intended for you to live in the chains of constant tension. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. As Matthew 11:28 says, was not only spoken for desperate souls long ago, it still stands open for you today. I am not calling you into a life of escaping responsibility, but I am drawing you out of a way of living in which fear becomes the master, controlling every breath you take. There are people who believe that the more they push themselves to exhaustion, the more worthy they are of recognition. But I do not look at you through the cold eyes of the world. I do not love you because of how much you accomplish in a single day. I love you because you are my child, even when you are silent, even when you are weak, even when you no longer have enough strength to explain yourself to anyone. My love for you does not diminish. Remember David hiding in the cave during the seasons when he was hunted, before he became a mighty king before the people. There were nights when he was so exhausted that all he could do was weep before me. Yet it was precisely in that dark place that I taught him that true strength does not come from never trembling, but from knowing how to take refuge in my presence. That is why Psalm 62:1 says, "Truly, my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from Him." Do you see? Beloved child, even those whom I used greatly first had to learn how to rest in me before they could walk steadily forward. Beloved child, when you sit down and eat with gratitude instead of filling your meal with anxiety, your soul is being healed. When you pause in the middle of busyness to pray instead of continuing to rush forward in chaos, you are reminding your heart that you are not alone. I know there are times when you feel that if you stop striving, no one will be able to hold everything together, but this world was never placed upon your shoulders. Only I am strong enough to carry it. Cast all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you. As 1 Peter 5:7 declares, is not weak comfort, it is a spiritual truth. You were never created to carry every burden alone forever. Remember the prophet Elijah in the wilderness. After days of intense struggle, he collapsed beneath the broom tree and asked to die because he was so exhausted. Yet I did not rebuke him first. I did not ask why he was so weak. First, I sent an angel to bring him bread and water. I allowed him to sleep. I restored his body before restoring his spirit. Beloved child, there are times when what your soul truly needs is not more pressure to become stronger, but to relearn what it means to be loved and cared for. I am not ashamed of your fragility. I know you were created with a heart capable of hurting, with eyes capable of weeping, and with a body capable of becoming weary. And it is precisely within those limits that my grace is revealed even more clearly. Then, day by day, I will teach you a new rhythm of life. You will learn how to recognize when your heart is becoming overloaded before it turns into despair. You will learn how to step back and rest within my presence instead of merely reacting to the pressures around you. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. La Psalm 23, 1 hasta 2 declares, is not merely beautiful poetic imagery. It is the way I desire to lead your soul. I do not drive you into frantic running through fear. I lead you like a gentle shepherd guiding his sheep toward peaceful waters. And then, beloved child, even if outward circumstances do not immediately change, a harbor of peace will begin to appear within you. Responsibilities may still remain. Trials will still come. There may still be misunderstandings you must face, long seasons of waiting, or difficult decisions to make. But my presence will change the way you walk through all of these things. You will no longer live like someone constantly dragged around by storms, but like one who knows they are being held securely in the Father's arms. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. As Psalm 23:4 reminds you, means that true peace does not come from the disappearance of storms, but from knowing that I am still there in the middle of them. When my rest takes deep root within your soul, your life itself will begin to become a place where others find gentleness. You will not need to strive to prove anything. A lamp does not need to shout that it is shining. It simply gives light quietly. In the same way, there will be people who come near you and not understand why their hearts suddenly feel lighter. There will be those who watch the way you endure hardship and wonder what has kept you from collapsing. It will be my presence within you, bearing witness to them. Let your light shine before others. As Matthew 5:16 declares, is not a call for you to turn yourself into a stage. It is an invitation for you to live as a humble light in this weary world. Beloved child, when your inner world is no longer filled with the noise of anxiety, you will begin to hear the whisper of the Holy Spirit more clearly. I will teach you to recognize the pain hidden behind another person's smile. I will show you when to remain silent instead of reacting too quickly. I will guide you through peace rather than through panic. Remember the story of the boy Samuel in the temple. In the quietness of the night, I called his name not through thunder and lightning, but through a very gentle voice. At first he did not recognize me, but gradually his soul learned the sound of my heavenly presence. In the same way, I am patiently teaching you to listen for me in the ordinary movements of life. So today, beloved child, do not be afraid to rest in me. Do not be afraid to soften beneath my love. Pressure is not your master. Fear has no authority to define you. I am your Father. I am the place where your soul finds true rest. And as my peace continues to grow within you, every breath you take will begin to carry healing light to the weary souls around you. You may not recognize it immediately, but every drop of peace I plant within your heart today will one day become a river, bringing life to many others. Beloved child, do not let your soul fall asleep in the feeling that you have already arrived. There are seasons when I allow you to rest beside still waters, so that old wounds may heal. But there are also seasons when I call you to rise and move farther into the purpose I prepared for you from the very beginning when I first called your name. And today, I am calling you forward, not through the fearful pressure of the world, but through the gentle voice of the one who knows exactly what you were created for. You were not born to stand forever at the threshold of your destiny, merely looking toward the promised land while telling yourself that one day you might enter it. I did not place longing within your soul, only for it to remain buried like a forgotten seed beneath the soil of delay. Be strong and courageous. As Joshua 1:9 was spoken to Israel before they crossed the Jordan, is also being spoken over you today. For many times, what prevents you from moving forward is not a lack of ability, but the habit of standing too long in familiar places until you mistake them for safety. I know what you have already walked through. I have seen the seasons when you fought silently, the nights when you gathered together the broken pieces of your heart while no one else knew. I know you have grown far beyond who you once were. But beloved child, it is precisely in the place where you begin to feel that you are comfortable enough that a subtle temptation can appear. It does not come like violent darkness that you immediately recognize. It comes gently, reasonably, and very easy to accept. It whispers that there is no need to move farther. It lulls your soul to sleep within the comfort zone of almost fully stepping into your calling, almost completely trusting me, almost surrendering the final fear. But I never created you for a life of almost. I called you into fullness. I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly. As John 10:10 declares, is not a promise of merely surviving each day. It is an invitation to step into the overflowing flow of my divine purpose. Remember Peter in the darkness upon the sea. While he remained inside the boat, he was safe in the human sense. But I did not call him merely to watch the miracle from a distance. I called him to walk upon the water. And the miracle was not that Peter was perfect or never afraid. The miracle was that he dared to step out from the familiar place and move toward me. Beloved child, there are miracles that will never happen as long as you continue clinging tightly to the boat of control. There are doors that will never open until you walk in faith before seeing the entire path. When Peter looked at the wind and the waves, he began to sink. But when his eyes stayed fixed on me, the impossible became reality. In the same way, if you focus only on limitations, you will always find reasons to stop. But if you keep your eyes on me, you will discover that what I have placed within you is greater than the things trying to hold you back. Beloved child, your appointed time is no longer something far away in the distance. There are souls who keep saying, one day I will begin. One day I will fully live out what God has placed within my heart. But I want you to understand that many promises are buried not because I failed to make a way, but because people keep postponing obedience into a future that never arrives. Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts. As Hebrews 3:15 declares, is a call awakening your soul from spiritual delay. I do not require you to understand everything before you step forward. I only ask that you trust me enough to take the first step. For my light rarely illuminates the entire journey at once. I shine enough light for the next step so that you may learn to walk with me rather than merely walk through your own certainty. Perhaps you are thinking that you still carry too many flaws. Perhaps you are waiting until you become stronger, wiser, poorer, or more confident before you fully begin living the calling I placed within you. But beloved child, if I used only those who no longer felt fear or weakness, no one would ever be sent. Remember Moses when he stood before the burning bush that was not consumed. The first thing he spoke was not confidence, but insecurity. Who am I that I should go? Yet I did not answer him by listing his abilities. I simply declared, I will be with you. That has always been the true foundation of calling not your own strength, but my presence walking with you. So today, I want you to stop measuring your life by the small standards of comfort. Do not build a home in a place where I only intended for you to rest temporarily. There are things that once helped you survive an old season, but they will become chains if you continue clinging to them in the new one. You are no longer the person of yesterday's season. I am expanding your soul to carry something greater, and that expansion may feel unfamiliar, because every true growth requires leaving behind the place that once felt comfortable. Beloved child, as you follow me in obedience, you will realize that many things that once terrified you were only shadows enlarged by a weary mind. I am not saying the journey will be without trials, but I am saying that trials no longer have the authority to define you. Greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. As 1 John 4:4 declares, is a reminder that your true source of strength does not rest in emotions that change from day to day, but in my unchanging presence. And the day will come when you look back and realize this: what held you back the longest was not a closed door, but the fear of stepping through the door that had already been opened. But beloved child, I am standing ahead of you, not behind you. I am not pulling you back into the darkness of old seasons. I am calling you forward. Every step of obedience will dissolve another layer of fog that once covered your soul. Every time you choose trust instead of delay, the light within you will grow brighter, and then you will understand that you were never created to shrink back in fear. You were created to reflect my glory, to walk as one who has been sent, and to fully live out the divine purpose I wrote over your life before the foundations of the earth were laid. Therefore, do not remain standing at the threshold any longer. Beloved child, do not continue calling delay wisdom when in truth your soul is simply afraid of change. Rise with a heart that is soft yet full of faith. Walk forward even though you cannot yet see the entire road. And as you walk, you will discover that I have already gone before you long ago. Beloved child, do not let your soul fall asleep beneath the shadow of half-hearted satisfaction. There are people who stop not because they have finished the journey, but because they have become comfortable with the ground beneath their feet. They call it peace. Yet beneath that stability hides the fear of moving forward. They call it fulfillment. Yet deep within their souls there still remains a calling, unanswered. I do not want you to live as someone merely standing outside the door of your destiny, comforting yourself with the thought that seeing it from afar is enough. I am calling you to step inside. I did not create you merely to touch the edge of your calling, but to live fully within the depth of what I wrote over your life before you were formed in your mother's womb. Beloved child, do not mistake temporary comfort for completion. There are seasons when I allow you to rest so that you may recover. But rest does not mean the end of growth. We are not of those who shrink back and are destroyed, but of those who have faith. As Hebrews 10:39 declares, is a reminder that the soul was created to keep moving toward the light. I know how much you have already overcome. I have seen the tears you hid in secret. I have seen the silent battles that no one fully understood, and I rejoice in the growth that has taken place within you. But beloved child, what I have placed inside you is deeper than anything you have yet seen. If today you stop simply because you have already walked a beautiful stretch of road, you may miss the ocean because you became satisfied with a small stream. Remember Caleb standing before the promised land, while many around him trembled before the giants and convinced themselves that everything was impossible. His soul still burned with the promise I had spoken. 45 years passed, yet age did not extinguish his fire. While many wished to remain within safe territory, Caleb still declared, "Give me this mountain." Beloved child, that is the heart I desire to see within you, not the ambition of the flesh. but the longing to fully step into what I have ordained. There are people who grow old in faith because they stop believing that I can still do something new. Yet I remain the God who makes a way in the wilderness and causes rivers to flow through dry land. Do not let the word comfortable become the pillow that lulls your soul to sleep. Sometimes the greatest danger is not obvious rebellion, but living an entire life without fully stepping into your calling. I did not create you merely to survive with a few flickers of light when I have placed the brightness of the sun within you. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 declares, was not spoken only to a chosen few. It is a declaration of the identity I planted within you. But light cannot shine far if it remains hidden beneath fear of change, or the belief that you have already gone far enough. Beloved child, I do not say these things to make you feel inadequate or condemned. No, I am opening your eyes to see that there is still more waiting ahead. There are still doors you have not yet walked through. There are still souls who will be touched through your life. There are still depths within your relationship with me that you have never experienced before. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared. As 1 Coríntios 2:9 declares, is not only about eternity to come, it is also a reminder that my fullness is always greater than the limits of your present understanding. I know that sometimes you grow weary. I know there are moments when you simply want to hold on to a familiar place because it feels safe. But beloved child, a young bird will never discover the strength of its wings if it remains forever inside the nest. There are things that can only be revealed once you dare to step beyond the place you have always controlled. Look at Abraham. I called him to leave his homeland without showing him the entire journey. If he had demanded complete understanding before taking the first step, he would never have become the father of many nations. Faith is not seeing everything clearly before you move forward. Faith is stepping forward because you know the one who is leading you. Therefore today, I am calling you to lay down false definitions of completion. Do not think that because you have already experienced a few victories, the journey is over. Do not assume that a few peaceful seasons mean I no longer have new things to reveal. I am the God who continually makes all things new. My river does not stand still, and you were created to live within that flow, not to stand on the shore, merely watching it pass by. Beloved child, the day will come when you look back and realize that what you once called enough was only the beginning. You will see that I withheld greater things, not because I wanted to delay you, but because I was preparing your soul to become wide enough to carry them. A small vessel cannot contain an ocean. Therefore, I use time to enlarge your heart, purify your motives, and heal the fearful places within you, so that when the new season arrives, you will not lose yourself in the midst of abundance, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. As Philippians 3:13 declares, it is my call for you not to build tents within old successes or old limitations. I am not finished with you. The story I am writing over your life is not complete. And beloved child, the most beautiful thing is not how far you have already gone, but that you are still willing to let me lead you even farther. So today, do not remain standing at the border of the promised land. Do not merely look at the open door and hesitate. Step through it. Let your heart once again burn with the call of heaven. For when you dare to admit that there is still more within me, your soul will begin opening itself to true abundance. And then you will discover that what I have prepared for you is far greater than what you once believed was the final limit of your life. Beloved child, there are chains not forged from iron, but formed through the way you have seen yourself for many years. There are people who continue walking, praying, and seeking me every day. Yet deep within their souls, they carry a silent sentence declaring that they will never truly become what I called them to be. They believe that I am powerful, Yet they do not believe that my power can fully work through their own lives. They believe my promises are real, but think those promises belong more to others than to themselves. And beloved child, this is often where darkness hides itself most subtly, not always by pulling you far away from me, but by convincing you to live beneath what I ordained for you from the very beginning. I want you to understand this deeply within your soul. Your past does not have the authority to define your identity. The wounds you once carried, the failures you endured, the seasons when you were lost or weak, all of these may tell the story of the road you have walked, but they are not the final voice over who you truly are. I am the one who created you. I knew you before the world ever called your name. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. As Jeremiah 1:5 declares, was not only spoken to a prophet long ago, it is also a confirmation that your true identity was born from my heart, not from painful memories or the labels others once placed upon you. Beloved child, there are voices that have remained within your mind for so long that you have mistaken them for truth. Whispers telling you that you are not good enough, not worthy enough, not strong enough, that you have made too many mistakes ever to step into something greater. But I ask you this, where have those voices led your soul? Have they made you freer? Have they drawn you closer to me? Or have they only caused you to shrink back into fear and doubt? The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. As John 10:10 declares, is a clear dividing line for your soul. Every voice that pulls you away from life, away from hope, away from light and restoration does not come from me. Remember Gideon when I called him a mighty warrior. What is remarkable is not that he rebelled against me in defiance. He simply could not see himself the way I saw him. When I called him to rise up and deliver the people, he immediately spoke of the smallness of his family, the weakness of his tribe, and his own unworthiness. But I did not argue with his feelings. I did not spend time analyzing every fear within his heart. I simply continued declaring his true identity until his soul gradually learned to walk according to what I had spoken, rather than according to what he felt. Beloved child, I am patiently doing the same thing with you. Perhaps today you still tremble and still carry many doubts. But if you continue walking according to my calling, your true identity will become clearer than your old fears. There are people who spend their entire lives fighting against outward sin, yet never realize that the deepest battle lies in the way they see themselves. They cannot fully receive my love because they have grown accustomed to living in shame. They do not dare step into their calling because they believe they belong only in the background. But beloved child, when I call you my beloved, I do not speak those words as temporary encouragement. It is truth. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things have passed away. As 2 Coríntios 5:17 declares, is the proclamation that you are no longer imprisoned within the old version of yourself. The past may still try to repeat its memories, but it is no longer your master. Look at the prodigal son returning to his father's house. On the way home, he prepared a long speech to lower himself, believing he deserved only to become a servant. But the father did not allow him to remain inside that old definition. He ran to embrace him, clothed him in a new robe, placed a ring upon his hand, and restored his position as a son. Beloved child, that is what I do with you as well. I do not merely forgive you and then leave you to live in shame. I restore your identity. I call you to rise from the ashes of self-condemnation and walk as one who is truly loved. Therefore, today, I want you to stop calling yourself by names I never placed upon you. Do not continue speaking of yourself as abandoned when I call you chosen. Do not continue seeing yourself as a failure simply because you once fell down. A child learning to walk is not called a failure because it stumbles many times. And beloved child, I am your Father, not a judge, waiting to condemn you whenever you are weak. I have called you by your name, you are mine. As Isaiah 43:1 declares, is the truth I want engraved deeply within your soul today. I know there will be times when the old voices return. There will be days when the past knocks upon the door of your mind through painful memories. But beloved child, you no longer need to live beneath their authority. You can choose to believe what I speak above what you feel. Faith is not the denial of the battle within. Faith is the decision that my voice will hold greater authority than every other voice. And day by day, your soul will begin to expand. You will stop shrinking back from the opportunities I open before you. You will no longer stand outside the promise simply because you think you do not belong there. I will teach you to walk with holy courage, not the arrogance of the flesh, but the freedom of someone who has finally agreed with what their Father has spoken over them. Beloved child, you are not the sum of your old wounds. You are not the verdict of your past. You are not the mockery of the world. You are a new creation in me. And when you begin seeing yourself through my eyes, you will discover that many doors that once appeared closed were never truly locked. They were simply waiting for you to believe enough to walk through them with the true identity I placed within you from the beginning. Beloved child, there have been seasons when you looked at your exhaustion and quietly concluded that you were weaker than others. You blamed yourself for becoming weary so easily, for your heart losing strength so quickly, for your soul, sometimes, no longer having enough fire to continue as before. But I want you to understand this. Not every kind of weariness is a sign of failure. There are dry seasons that come not to destroy you, but to draw you back to the true source of living water. Your soul was never created to keep burning endlessly through its own strength. You were created to live, connected to me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, will bear much fruit. As John Kent 5 declares, is not only a truth about spiritual life, it is the principle of life itself. A branch does not need to strain itself to receive life. It only needs to remain connected to the vine. In the same way, what you need most deeply is not to become stronger through sheer willpower, but to return to the flow where my life is pouring out. There have been days when you forced yourself to keep going even though your soul was already empty. You thought that if you stopped, everything would collapse. But beloved child, true strength does not come from constantly bracing yourself against life. It comes from proper connection. A river does not grow weary from flowing because it continually receives water from its source. Only stagnant pools slowly dry up because they try to hold everything for themselves. And I see many souls living like stagnant pools of survival, always defensive, always cautious, always afraid of losing the small measure of peace they still possess. They no longer live with open-hearted love. They merely try to survive each day. They no longer walk by faith, but by fear, constantly trying to protect themselves from the next wound. But I never called you into a life that shrinks inward like that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. As Psalm 23:1 declares, breaks the mindset of fear and lack. When you truly believe that I am your Father, you will no longer live as someone terrified that tomorrow will take away what you have today. For the fear of loss is precisely what causes your soul to become smaller. It makes you love more cautiously, trust less deeply, dream less boldly, and walk more hesitantly. Gradually, you stop living in the abundant life I promised and begin merely protecting a small corner of safety for yourself. Remember the people of Israel in the wilderness. Even though I opened the Red Sea before them and caused manna to fall from heaven every morning, they still lived with the mindset of slaves. They were always afraid of lacking, always worried there would not be enough, always longing to return to Egypt simply because it felt familiar. Beloved child, many times you are the same. I have opened countless doors before you, healed you many times, lifted you up after seasons of brokenness. Yet your soul sometimes still lives as though it has been abandoned. You still hold back instead of pouring out. You still shrink inward instead of moving forward. Not because I have failed to provide enough, but because fear keeps you from living openly. Today I want to tear down that illusion within your heart. You were not born merely to survive another day. A healthy tree does not live only to keep its sap for itself. It bears fruit, gives shade, and becomes a resting place for the birds of the air. In the same way, a truly living soul will naturally release life around itself. Whoever believes in me, rivers of living water will flow from within them. As John 7:38 declares, is the confirmation that you were created to become a flowing river, not a sealed reservoir closed off by fear of running dry. Beloved child, there are things you call wisdom that are actually only the defenses of old wounds. There are walls you built to protect yourself that are also keeping new life from entering. I know why you are afraid. I know there were times when you gave and were wounded, hoped and were disappointed, opened your heart and were misunderstood. But if you continue living only to avoid pain, you will unknowingly lock out joy, freedom, and the abundance I have prepared for you. Look at Ezekiel when I led him to the river in the vision. The water first reached his ankles, then his knees, then his waist, and finally became a river too deep to cross through his own strength. That is the picture of life in me. I am not calling you to remain forever standing at the river's edge, trying to control everything. I am calling you deeper into the flow of the Holy Spirit, where you stop living through self-protection and begin living through trust. For the more you try to control everything, the more exhausted your soul becomes. But when you surrender yourself to my current, you will discover that what has always upheld you was never your own strength. Beloved child, the life I give is not poor or depleted. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. As Isaiah 40:31 declares, is not only a promise for emotional moments of prayer, it is the way of life for those who know how to return to the source instead of trying to live on the last reserves of their own strength. An eagle does not soar by frantically flapping its wings in panic. It learns to ride the current that lifts it higher. In the same way, I do not want you to live in constant tension, trying to keep yourself from falling. I want you to learn how to rest upon my presence. So today, let both layers of those chains fall away from your soul. Do not continue calling exhaustion your destiny. Do not continue mistaking withdrawal for maturity or wisdom. I have not called you to be a prisoner of the fear of loss. I have called you to live as one who knows that their Father is an endless source of provision. Return to my rhythm, a rhythm not driven by anxiety, not led by panic, but filled with life and peace. Then you will realize this wonder when you stand in the place where I have called you. Strength will no longer be something you must chase, piece by piece. Peace will no longer be something fragile that you struggle to hold on to. Life will begin to flow through you naturally, like water from a spring that never runs dry. And, beloved child, then you will understand that you were never truly empty. You had only remained too long away from the river where your soul was created to belong. Beloved child, I know there are days when you look at yourself and see only weariness. You feel your mind heavy, your body exhausted, and your soul like a lamp nearly out of oil. Then you begin to believe this is proof that you are too weak to keep going. But beloved child, listen deeply to what I am speaking today. Not every weariness comes to end you. There are kinds of exhaustion that appear as a gentle call, drawing you back to the source of life you have unknowingly drifted from. A branch does not die the moment it begins to wither. It is signaling that it needs to be reconnected to the flow of life. In the same way, Your soul was not created to burn forever by its own strength. I never called you to become a lonely flame, consuming itself just to keep shining. I called you to abide in me. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. As John Kintz, Cinco de Clares, is not a word meant to limit you, but to free you from the burden of having to sustain life by yourself. Beloved child, the world teaches you to try harder, become stronger, move faster, and grow tougher. Yet many souls are collapsing, not because they lack effort, but because they are living outside the right flow. They are like people trying to row against the current with all their strength until their arms grow numb. Meanwhile, I am calling them back to the river of grace, where strength is no longer something to be seized, but something to be received. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. As Isaiah 40:31 declares, is not merely comfort for desperate days. It is the secret of a life connected to heaven. An eagle does not soar high through panic. It flies by receiving the current that lifts it. And I want you to learn to live in that same way, not by resisting everything through strain, but by moving in harmony with my Holy Spirit. But beloved child, there is an even deeper layer of chains, quietly causing your soul to shrink. It is the survival mindset. This is where you begin living as one who must always defend yourself. You hold back affection because you fear being hurt again. You hold back dreams because you fear failure. You hold back trust because you fear betrayal. Gradually, your decisions no longer flow from life, but from the fear of loss. You no longer live openly as a beloved child. You live like someone trying to protect the last fragile piece of peace they have left. I see this in many souls. They pray to me, yet inwardly, they are always preparing for the worst. They love me, yet they do not dare to truly rest in my love. They live as though they are always lacking, even while the treasures of heaven are open before them. But beloved child, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. As Psalm 23:1 declares, is not a beautiful verse to read and then forget. It is the reality of one who knows their Father is the source of provision. When you truly believe that I am the one who keeps your life, you will no longer need to grip everything so tightly in fear. Remember the people of Israel in the wilderness. Even though manna fell from heaven every morning, they still feared that tomorrow there would not be enough. Even though the Red Sea had opened before their eyes, their minds still carried the mentality of slaves. And it was that fear of lack that continually made them long to return to Egypt, the place that was painful, yet familiar. Beloved child, there are times when you too are standing in freedom, while still thinking like someone bound in chains. I have delivered you from many things, and carried you through countless dark seasons. Yet part of your soul still lives, as though everything could be taken away tomorrow. I do not want you to live that way anymore. I did not create you merely to survive another day. A river was not born to sit still in fear of running dry. It was created to flow. Whoever believes in me, rivers of living water will flow from within them. As John 7:38 declares, is the proclamation that the true nature of life in me is overflowing abundance. When you are truly connected to me, life will no longer be trapped inside the fear of holding back. Love will flow through you. Peace will flow through you. Wisdom will flow through you. Healing will flow through you. There are things you call wisdom that are actually walls built by old wounds. I understand why you built them. I know there were times when you opened your heart and were hurt, times when you trusted and were disappointed. But beloved child, if you continue living only to avoid pain, you will unknowingly lock away the very life I desire to pour into you. A seed that always tries to protect itself will never break open and bear much fruit. Remember Peter when he stepped out onto the water. The moment he looked at the wind and the waves, The fear of survival immediately caused him to sink. But when his eyes were fixed on me, the impossible became reality. The same thing is happening within your soul. When you focus on lack, loss, and uncertainty, you begin shrinking inward. But when your eyes return to me, your soul begins opening again to the flow of life. Therefore, today, I am calling for both of those illusions to collapse from your life. Do not continue treating exhaustion as a destiny you must carry forever. And do not continue calling withdrawal maturity or wisdom. I have not called you to be a prisoner of fear. I have called you to be a son, a daughter of light. I am calling you out of a life that merely survives and into a life of abundance. Beloved child, when you return to my flow, you will discover this wonder. Strength will no longer be something you struggle to gather piece by piece. It will naturally flow through you like water from a spring that never runs dry. Peace will no longer feel fragile, like something that must be protected through fear. It will become the solid rock beneath your soul. And then you will understand that you were never truly weak or empty. You had simply remained too long away from the place your soul was created to belong, the place where every chain falls away, where everything within you is set free, and where my life begins to flow through you freely, powerfully, and gloriously. Beloved child, I am calling you out of the halfway place of the soul. There have been seasons when you stood between two shores, one foot wanting to move toward the light, while the other still clung to old habits of caution and delay. But now, I will no longer allow you to remain living in that place of uncertainty. I am placing before your life a sacred boundary where all compromise and half-heartedness begin to lose their power. Choose this day whom you will serve. As Joshua 24:15 declares, was not spoken only to the people of long ago, it is also the call, awakening your soul from a half-lived life, where people love the light yet are still afraid to truly step into it. I am not calling you to stand outside and merely watch my river flow by from a distance. I am calling you to step into that current. And when you step into it, what changes is not only the outward direction of your life, but the very nature within you. There are transformations that do not arrive with loud noise. Yet, once they happen, your soul is never the same again. Like Saul on the road to Damascus, one encounter with my presence turned a persecutor into one who was sent forth, not because he instantly became perfect, but because my light pierced through the old shell and awakened the true identity within him. Beloved child, I am doing the same within you. I am not merely changing a few habits. I am reshaping the way you carry yourself in this world. And I want you to understand this clearly. What I am placing within you is not the display of the flesh. My glory is not like the lights of this world, lights that constantly demand attention in order to survive. My glory is presence. It is like a fragrance quietly spreading through a room without needing to prove itself. When Moses came down from the mountain after spending time with me, his face shone so brightly that the people could not gaze upon him for long. Yet he did not create that light himself. It was the result of being near me. Beloved child, I am not calling you to strive to become great. I am simply calling you to remain near me long enough for my light to begin naturally reflecting through your life. There will be souls who feel peace simply by being near you and will not understand why. Some will hear your words and recognize that beneath the sound there is a different kind of weight, not the heaviness of pride, but the depth of heavenly presence. At times, even your silence will become a place of healing for others. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 declares, is not a call for you to shine through noise and attention-seeking. True light does not need to compete for space. It only needs to exist, and darkness naturally begins to retreat. Beloved child, I am igniting what I placed within you long ago. But this fire does not come to destroy your soul. It comes to dissolve the fog that has covered you for so long. I do not want you to continue living as a diminished version of yourself merely to feel safer. There are people who extinguish what I placed within them because they are afraid of being seen, afraid of being different, afraid of stepping away from the crowd. But, beloved child, if a lamp remains hidden forever, the room will continue to stay dark. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. As Matthew 5:15 reminds you, is the truth that what I have placed within you was never meant to be buried beneath fear. I know there are times when you want to make yourself smaller to avoid the judgmental eyes of others. There are moments when you want to silence the calling within your heart because you fear the responsibility that comes with it. But, beloved child, what I am awakening within you is not meant to exalt you above others. A true flame does not exist to admire itself. It exists to give light. When you live within my presence, you will not take up the space of others. You will create space for them to breathe, to heal, and to remember the light they also carry within themselves. Remember Elijah on Mount Carmel. When fire came down from heaven, the purpose was not to glorify the man Elijah, but so the people would recognize that the living God was still present among them. In the same way, when your life begins carrying my light and vitality, the purpose is not for you to become the center of attention, but for wandering souls to find their way back to the true source of light. Beloved child, do not fear the fire I am awakening within you. Do not rush to extinguish it simply because it is leading you beyond what feels familiar. There are those who once felt my flow, yet closed themselves off again because they feared losing control. And from that moment, their souls began to clog like a river, blocked by great stones. But I did not call you to live as stagnant water. Whoever believes in me, rivers of living water will flow from within them. As John 7:38 declares, is the true nature of life in me, always flowing, always spreading, always bringing life into dry places. Beloved child, what I am doing is not taking peace away from you. I am leading you into a deeper peace, the peace of one who no longer needs to shrink inward in order to protect themselves. For when you truly stand within my flow, you will realize that you are not losing control. You are simply no longer trying to control everything through fear. And it is there that your soul begins to experience true freedom. So today, let my fire continue burning within you. Let that light spread without shame, without fear, without making itself smaller just to resemble the crowd. I have called you out of the place of uncertainty and into the clarity of light. I have separated you from a half-lived life and brought you into the flow of abundant life. And beloved child, when you stop resisting what I am awakening within you, you will discover that my glory within you is not a burden you must carry. It is the true life your soul was always created to reveal. Beloved child, the moment will come when you look back at yourself and realize that the transformation I have worked within you is no longer merely a passing emotion felt during prayer. It will appear in every step you take, every choice you make, every way you face life itself. Doors you once feared entering, you will now walk through with a peace that even surprises you. Words you once swallowed because you feared rejection will now be spoken with clarity and gentleness. Not because you suddenly became a different person overnight, but because the flow within you has changed direction. Before, you tried to force yourself forward through your own strength. Now, the life I placed within you naturally begins carrying you ahead. I want you to understand this deeply. The one who lives by faith does not walk as someone trying to seize victory, but as one already positioned within victory. Thanks be to God, who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. As 1 Coríntios 15:57 declares, is not a promise reserved for some distant future. It is the spiritual position I have already placed you in now. Therefore, I do not want you to walk with a soul constantly trembling before the possibility of failure. I want you to walk with the assurance that I have gone before you. There are people who face circumstances as though they stand before a sentence of condemnation. But you no longer need to live that way. When you know you belong to me, you will see trials differently. They will no longer appear as sealed walls, but as places where my glory can be revealed. Look at David when he stepped into the valley to face Goliath. Everyone around him saw only a giant too great to defeat. But David saw through different eyes. He did not enter the battle merely to test his luck or prove himself. He entered with the certainty that God was already with him before the battle even began. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the bear will also deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. As 1 Samuel 17:37 declares, is the voice of someone who understood that victory does not begin with the size of the enemy, but with the presence of God. Beloved child, when your soul stands in that certainty, fear will begin losing its authority. You will stop reacting to circumstances through panic and begin shaping circumstances through faith. And then I will teach you to speak as one who carries true authority, not the authority of pride or domination, but authority born from union with me. There are words spoken from fearful souls that only create more chaos. Yet, there are simple, quiet words that carry a light capable of changing an entire atmosphere. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. As Proverbs 18:21 declares, is not merely speaking about the power of language. It is speaking about the spiritual current released through what you say. I no longer want you to use your words to diminish yourself, to feed fear, or to continually prophesy defeat over your own life. Beloved child, I am cleansing the lips of your soul so that your words may become purer, more precise, and filled with life. Remember the centurion who came to me because of his servant. He did not need elaborate rituals or endless repeated words. He simply said, "Only speak a word, and my servant will be healed." And I marveled at such faith, because he understood the nature of authority. The one who truly understands power does not need many words to prove anything. In the same way, I will teach you when to speak and when to remain silent. There will be moments when a single sentence spoken from my presence within you can lift a soul out of despair, open a door long closed within another person's heart, or break apart a heavy atmosphere that endless discussions could never change. But beloved child, there is an even deeper step I am calling you into, learning how to stand in the place of one who leads the way. I know this is where many souls begin to tremble, not because they lack ability, but because they are not accustomed to seeing themselves at the front. They are used to standing behind others, waiting for someone else to lead, shrinking their light so they can blend into the crowd. But I did not create you to disappear among the noisy voices of this world. I placed within you a light meant to lead the way. Remember Joshua after Moses had passed away. He did not choose that leadership role for himself. Surely there were days when he felt unworthy and unprepared. Yet I spoke to him, "Be strong and courageous," not because he had never felt fear, but because I knew he needed to learn to trust the one walking beside him more than the fear within him. And the man who once stood beside Moses became the one who led the people into the promised land. Beloved child, I am calling you in the same way. You are no longer invited merely to stand at the edge and observe. I am bringing you forward not so you can carry everything through your own strength, but so you can open the way for others through the light I placed within you. There will be people who look at the way you remain steady through trials and rediscover hope for themselves. There will be people who see peace within you and realize that God is still moving in the midst of this chaotic world. And this delights my heart. Do not fear the place I am leading you into. Do not try to return to the small life you once knew simply because it feels more familiar. A lamp was not created to be hidden beneath a table. A city set upon a hill cannot be concealed. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 declares, is the confirmation of what I placed within you from the very beginning. So today, walk as one who has already been positioned in victory. Speak as one who knows their words carry life. Stand as one who has been called to lead the way. And when you do, you will realize that you are no longer trying to become